So now we're going to talk about clearinghouse reporting for the annual inventory reporting report. So when you find a report that's an annual inventory reporting, you're going to see a current reporting period, and that current reporting period is the only reporting period that's available. So that is something that you can click on to view. So I'm going to go ahead and click on, let's see, which one did I want to click on first? Well, let me click on this one. This is going to load my annual inventory reporting. Now, depending on what type of system it is and how good their reporting has been throughout the year, you're going to see a very simple report. This is a two-tab report, one of them being the data and one of them being the review and submit tab. It's a very simple report, very easy to look at, easy to navigate. Under the annual supply and demand tab, you're going to see 2 or 3 tabs. I'll show you the one that has the 3 tabs. This annual supply and demand tab is going to have 2 tables. One of them is called annual supply. One of them is called annual demand. You may recognize these tables because they are in the monthly reports under the total annual summary. And they have the supply and demand tables. They're actually the same tables now. We've actually linked them together. So they look very similar. Now, this is going to tell you throughout the year which months have been submitted, which months have not been submitted, and if there were any in yellow, it would be which months have submitted preliminary estimated supply data or demand data. Okay, so in order to properly fill this out, you'll see none of this is writable, and because it's not available for reporting yet, I may not even be able to submit this because December can't be submitted, so I can't submit this whole thing. You can certainly put comments here in supply and demand, but the reason for this report is to make sure every monthly report is submitted with all of the individual monthly information in order for you to submit your annual inventory reporting report. So that's the only way you can submit this report is if you finish your monthly reporting. If you have not finished your monthly reporting, have gotten stuck, have had issues with monthly reporting, have not created an account, all those are reasons why you're not going to be able to submit your annual inventory reporting report. So hopefully that allows you to find this report, see what kind of information it has, and get a preview of which months are not submitted, or perhaps which ones have preliminary estimated data that you're going to have to go in and provide final data in order to have this report be ready to be submitted. So it's going to show you nice color coded. When I mouse over it, it's going to say you must complete your monthly report in order to submit your annual inventory report. Click on the month to open your monthly report to resubmit or submit. So when I go into this October report, I can click on October. It's actually going to pull up the October report for me to be able to enter. And that's going to allow me to satisfy reporting for this water system. And there it is. So for this water system to have a complete record, I'd have to go into supply and demand, and I have to submit the supply and demand for this entire system. Okay. So that's annual supply and demand. Pretty simple. I can tell you that there were other fields planned, other tabs planned. Those did not get developed in time for release. So we are going to have to revisit that in future versions of the annual inventory report. For future years, we'll be adding inventory for sources, potentially inventory for treatment facilities and other facilities, and flow paths. And those are the ones that we're kind of looking at right now, but more to come on that as we get closer to that becoming an eventuality. Demand metrics is the second tab. This second side tab is going to have the same thing except for maximum and average potable day demand. And it's also going to have a table for estimated water loss. So similarly to before, if any of these reports had not been submitted, it's going to show red. If any of this information was marked as preliminary estimated data, then it'll show yellow. I don't believe you can mark yellow for any of these fields. So it's going to show either red or it's going to have no highlight like it shows up here. So that's how you suffice this one. So you can optionally add comments. You don't need to, but this is the only thing that you can do for this water system. That's the only type of information that you can add. So hopefully that makes sense. And then I'm going to move on to review and submit, which is our final tab. So if those of you who are going through this report are going to be able to go to review and submit and see a list of errors. So because right now the report is incomplete, it's not available for reporting yet. You'll be able to see that once this is live, you'll be able to see the types of months that are missing for supply and demand. Actually, oh, they populated now. So I see here that under the supply table, I have October, November, and December missing. For the demand table, I have October, November, December, and the same thing for supply and demand metrics. I have October, November, December, and October, November, December for both tables missing. And that is going to allow us to see what types of errors that we have before we can actually review it, and then we can attest and submit it over here. So if you have any, if you have any one of these errors, you can click on it, and it'll take you to the place where that table exists, so you can see where that error is, so you can obviously correct that error and be able to submit your report. And once you submit your report, you will have complied with this reporting requirement. You can see it's much simpler than any other reporting we have because you have been doing the work on a monthly basis of submitting this information. And that concludes this portion of the presentation. I'm actually going to do the second part of annual inventory reporting, which is going to be, I'm going to find a system that is a fillable system. Okay, so this part of the video, we're going to show a fillable report, which is those of you who have never reported in the clearinghouse or have not reported a full year's worth of data because it was not available to you. Maybe you're a transient system or a non-transient system that has not been reporting in the clearinghouse, just recently created an account this month. This is the type of annual inventory reporting that you're going to see. So I'm going to load it right here. And I'm going to show it how it currently looks. This is called a fillable report. The other report that I showed was called a pre-filled report. So over here, I'm going to see 3 side tabs, okay? Same 2 tabs as were in the other report. The first side tab says About, and this About side tab allows us to reply whether we supply or deliver non-potable water or recycled water to customers or other water systems. So if you have non-potable or recycled water, we will ask more questions about that non-potable recycled water. So if you don't have that, you can simply mark no. I'm understanding most transients and non-community systems will probably not have a whole lot of non-potable recycled water, but there are exceptions that we are trying to handle here. So for most of you, you would probably enter no and move on to supply and demand. By the way, the reason why I can edit this is because it's in training and it's not our production server. In production server, you will not be able to edit anything until January 1st, which is right around the corner. So now I've answered no to the About tab, and then I can go on to the next tab, which is the annual supply and demand. So annual supply in gallons allows me to now fill out my required field here for groundwater production. So every month, because I know that this water system only has groundwater, the clearinghouse is only asking for groundwater production. So it's a much more simplified field here. And they're going to be asked to enter their monthly production. There is no linked monthly report for these because they are not currently reporting in the clearinghouse. So they're just asked to fill out a fillable form throughout the whole year. Okay. And if there were any non-potable supply, that would be inserted here. And the total supply is total potable and non-potable supply. So it'd be added up for you. But the only thing required to be entered is the different types of production based on the sources that we have in our database. If there's any differences in the sources that we have in our database, hopefully you can notify us, our district office, so we can correct that in our database so you have the right amount of sources and facilities that are showing the right type of water being distributed. Same thing for the annual demand. You will ask the question, do you meter? If you do not meter, then the only thing we're asking for is an estimate of your total potable demand. However, you can estimate that as possible. You'll be asked to fill out a whole year's worth of total potable demand information. However, if you do meter, which I will remind folks that by 2032, I believe, you will be required to meter all service connections. And so that is something that will be required in the future, which is why we're asking you about it now, so you're aware that that will be a requirement in the future. But if you say you meter, then we're going to just ask that that metered demand be split up into the various categories listed here and be reported for each month. Very similar, you'll see this is very similar to what was in the EAR in section 6. This is very similar to that. And it's intended to be a direct replacement to what is there, since this will no longer be in the EAR as of 2023, which will be released in a couple of months in February. So yes, this annual reporting requirement will replace what is there for only section 6 for the year. The rest of the year will still be there. Only section 6 will be removed and replaced by this report in the clearinghouse. So that's it. You can write any comments that you want, and then this tab will be completed. So just for the sake of filling it out, since this is easier to fill out than the other one, I'm just going to try to fill out a whole entire report, and let's see if we can get this across the finish line. For simplicity, I'm just going to use less fields. And I'm going to save progress here, and let's see how this goes. Great. So I've actually seen that my About tab is completed. My annual supply and demand tab is completed. I have green check marks on both. That means that they're completely complete. And then my demand metrics was automatically completed. Why? Because in this section for maximum and average day demand, we estimate your maximum day demand to be based on what you have reported for supply and demand. So when we get this information, we will take the highest month of the year, divided by the number of days in that month, and multiply that by a peaking factor of 1.5 to determine your estimated maximum day demand. Now, if your water system actually collects daily production readings and is able to provide an alternative maximum day demand, you can check this box and you can provide an alternative number. But you do not need to provide this alternative number in order to submit this report. If you're very happy with the number that's there, then that is the number we'll use for regulatory compliance. Very important that we note that. And then I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go to review and submit and see how we did with the errors. And so if you've completely submitted your report, whether it's fillable or pre-filled, your supply and demand should show no errors. And this will allow me to move to step 2. Step 2 is a review step. So like, let's say you want to run this by your board or run this by other coworkers that are dealing with different parts of the section, and you want to make sure that their numbers are correct, or some things like looked a little weird. This is your chance to review. So this is going to be an HTML view of your entire report. You're going to be able to see all of the answers, all of the charts, all the tables that were included, and all of the comments and values provided. And you'll also be able to download this. So when you download it, it's going to download a PDF version of this report that has not yet been signed for your review purposes only. So you'll see this report has been created, but then at the end, there's nothing after the comments. There's no attest and submit because it has not yet been submitted. Once you're happy with that, you can then go to the next page and certify. So it's going to auto-populate your name, and it's going to auto-populate the date in which you signed. And then you're going to be able to submit. And this is going to yield this, this dialog box. It says, thank you for successfully submitting your report. A PDF report will be generated for you shortly and sent to your email address. Please check your inbox and spam folder in a few minutes. Now, this generally takes about 5 minutes to submit the PDF report. We have received reports from some folks that have not received their PDF reports in recent months. Something may have broken in the email notifications, and we are fixing that. We're working on fixing that very shortly so we can start to resubmit those. In the event that you do not receive your PDF, you can always re-navigate back to the step 3, or even on the same page. You can view and print. So viewing creates a printable version of the drought report that you can print out for your records. Obviously print that out for those of you who want to print it out or just want to view it in a nicer readable form. And you can also download it. So you can download the PDF version of that. And the only difference between this previously generated report and this generated report is that at the very end, there's an attest and submit showing that this is an attested and submitted document, and this is good to go. So this is how you submit an annual inventory report.